Right then, hi guys, this is hopefully going to be a relatively short video. Ooh, well, you can see my hands. Right, all this is going to be is well, when I was younger, my dad used to build these things called a forever flasher, which would basically run on a single D cell and flash an LED in a alarm box, you know, like a house alarm or whatever. Just to make it look as though it's on and working, but you know, times change, etc. So I want to do it with a pick and two LEDs and make it do a double flash as well. So, well, here we go. This is a pre-programmed chip. I've already put the code on. If you want a copy of the code, have a look down there somewhere, because it'll be in the description. I'm going to go through this step by step on how to build it, and here we go. So I'm going to start with, well, actually I'll have to bend these pins because they're always ever so slightly bent out. Right, so we've got that, and stick it in about there. By the way, this is just standard prototyping board. To be honest, I've never used this type of board before. Usually I use a breadboard, which I personally find a lot easier, but you know, you can only use what you've got, haven't you? So right, I'll tell you what, I'll solder it on the bench here. Right, so as I say, I'll try and make this as quick and painless as I can. Once I've soldered the two corners, now it's time for the helping hands. So I suppose this could be a bit of a, you know, a mini tutorial for anybody to do with, like, you know, well, soldering, whatever, you know. I mean, if you work with Arduino, you know, it's basically the same thing, except this is a PIC microcontroller. I programmed this using Flowcode, by the way. You probably know if you've seen any of my other videos. I am a huge Flowcode fan, just purely and simply because of the simplicity of it. You know, it's a really simple piece of software to use. If you can think logically, you know, you won't struggle with it at all. Anyway, I just solder all these. To be honest, I don't need to solder them all because it'll be held in anyway by the other soldered joints, because we're only going to be using 4 connections on this chip. No, sorry, 6. Right, so that's that. Right, so we've got our microprocessor soldered in. Hopefully you can see that. That's a PIC16F 628A, by the way, sorry. Right, I'm doing this completely off memory, so I'm just hoping to God that I'm getting all these connections correct. Right, so I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's it. Let's put the oscillator in. It's a 20 megahertz oscillator, by the way. It's going in on pins, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16 this is going in on. So I'll quickly solder them on, and then see, if I was using breadboard now, these would already be connected, but of course, because I'm not, you have to bend the pins over and solder them onto the chip pins. I know loads of people probably quite used to using this sort of board, but personally it is the first time I've ever used it, but you know, it does the same job, doesn't it? So I'll quickly cross out. Solder that on there with this. Oh, quite shaky today. I think I need a cup of tea. Oh, just about reach with a bit of solder, that will. Right. Ooh, come on. try and bridge the gap. There we go. Rough as you like. There we go. Alright, so now we got the chip in there and the oscillator. By default the LED pins are the two bottom ones, purely and simply because I wanted to put, well, you'll see in a minute, but I wanted to put an LED, you know, either side like that, connect the pins up like that, and then got a little power connection there. The idea is I'm going to solder these batteries in because they're supposed to last for ages, you know. So I'm going to solder these batteries together and stick them to the back pretty much. But we'll get there in time if you've got the patience. Right, so yeah, they're going to be long enough. So I'll poke one in there. I'll do this. Sorry, the camera tripod's getting in the way. So I'll solder them in using my little solder dispenser. So the thing is with this, I mean, you can put in red LEDs or white, blue, bloody whatever colour you like. Obviously use the right resistor for it. But you know, the whole idea is that it can go either in, you know, maybe the window of your car, you know, extend the legs on the LEDs, you know, put them in the window of your car so people think that you've got an alarm. Put them in a dummy bell box on your house, and it will just sit there flashing away for a few years. You know, that's the whole idea of it. You haven't got to run power to it. It's just simple. That's the thinking behind it. I'll leave that leg out. Actually, I'll sort that out in a minute. Just having a think now. What the best way to do is. Yeah, I'll put the other one in now. So stick that one in there. See, it's just, you know. To be honest, I'll probably just put this on my desk and mark the date on it and see how long it goes for. And if it ever does stop, I'll post how long it lasted. By the way, it's a bit of a rule for me. I don't like editing my videos to put them on YouTube because, to be fair, I just haven't got the time. So this is all done in one take. So if you get bored or whatever, please feel free to, you know, well, hopefully you'll watch it all the way through, because then obviously I haven't bored you too much and you might learn something from it, if anything. I don't know, but something to keep you out of trouble, because if you're watching a YouTube video you're in trouble, are you? Right, tell you what, we'll put in the little power connection now. So I think, where am I going to put that? I think I'll put it here actually. Oh, it's not going to go central, is it? Top corner maybe? Yeah, I'll put it top corner. These are the legs on these are quite big, yeah, so it took a bit of pressure to push that in there, but it's alright, we can work with stuff like that, that's okay. Right, so solder that in. Usually what I do with these little power connections is I put a little mark, let's see if I can find my Sharpie. Other markers are available, so I'll mark that up black for negative, just colour the screw in. There you go. So now you know that that one's negative, and incidentally the other one's positive. That's going to make it easier actually, because I've got two negatives, one from there, one from there to there, and then one from there to there. And what I do actually is bend that over there, connect that through onto there, then that can connect onto that. So where's my pliers? Bend that. So that's the thing with these boards, they're all a bit, you know, I'm not a huge fan of them, to be honest, and it don't seem, it's very, very prototypey, isn't it? You know, it doesn't look fantastic, whereas Veriboard looks a lot nicer when you've done it. Alright, so that's on there. I'll solder that quickly, even though I'm going to have to re-solder in a minute anyway. So that's on there. I need a little bit of extension wire. I've got a little tray full of bits and bobs in here, so hopefully I've got some. No, they all just look like bits of solder to me. Sorry, is my head getting in the way of the camera? Oh, there we go. A couple of bits of extension wire. So I'll solder that. One of these onto here. Is that even going to be long enough? Ooh, just about. See, it's not gonna look the greatest in the world, but hey ho, it's a quick knock together, isn't it? You know, just knock it together. Hot. Right. Solder that onto the corner of that LED there. As I say, rough as you like. You know, it's not the best, but should work. Right, anyway, so now I know the centre pin on this side, well, the centre out of them is ground, same on the other side is positive, so we will run a piece of wire, to be fair, could bring it straight from there to there, or whatever. Hold on, I'll get some proper little bits of wire for this actually, so it might look a bit better. Got some wire strippers. Lovely. Let's solder that onto there. Wonderful. And then bring that over to there. A bit shit, but you know. I've been saying it's shit all the way through this, I know, but it's not really. I suppose it is, but it's not. Right. Let's connect that onto there. Obviously, you can alter in the code whether the LEDs have got common anode or common cathode. At the minute these have got common cathode, so of course all the negatives are connected together, and it pulses the positives into the LEDs. Alright, so now all I've got to do is connect that pin to there with a bit of red wire. I haven't even got an actual roll of this stuff. Just nicked this from me dad's shed, because me and him used to get up to all sorts of stuff like this until I moved out. Now I'm trying to build up my own mini shed in my flat, which is quite difficult, as you can imagine, because obviously the missus isn't too chuffed about it all, which is completely understandable, because it doesn't it does sort of smell when you're soldering, and you know, it gets a bit messy with all your bits and bobs here, there and everywhere, and endless lengths of wire and microchips with the MOSFETs hanging around, and power supplies, oscilloscopes, everything that you could ever need for fault finding and messing around. But you know, it's all good fun. Keeps you out of trouble. Right, so that's going to go on there. bit. Right. Now let's have a double check before I power it up. So we've got positive going over to there, which is from there, negative to there, which also goes across the 2 LEDs, and yeah, wonderful. Right, let's tell you what, before we build up the battery pack, we'll stick a quick test on it. Oh, for God's sake. Quickly rig it up to the bench power supply before we go any further and get too excited, because it's a bit of a saying that me and my dad had. It's got more than 3 components in it. The chances of it working are next to 0. Right, so I'll give it 4.5 volt, which is the same as what it'll get from the batteries. Ah, lovely. Don't know if you can see that on the camera if it's too fast. Yeah, you can see that. Of course, you can program it to do any number of sequences or whatever, you know. Right, so that's that done. Lovely. Cracking, it works. Right, so we'll disconnect them out for now. Now we're just going to make up the battery pack, which we're going to very crudely stick to the back of the board. There's not going to be any switch in it or anything, because the whole idea is it just stays on. So what I'm going to do is make up the battery pack like that. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. I'm literally going to solder the batteries in. I haven't even got a battery case sort of thing. So I wouldn't recommend you doing this, to be honest, because obviously soldering directly onto a battery isn't recommended. I'm going to set my soldering iron as hot as it'll go, so I can be as fast as I can, because obviously battery chemistry, blah blah blah, you don't want it exploding in your face. And if it does, in this case, it'll be absolute YouTube gold. YouTube will have a field day. Another thing that you might want to try if you're doing this is I don't know if you've ever seen you can get like a little, it's like a little rubber, and it scuffs up, you know, if you're soldering to copper, like a copper Veriboard, it scuffs up the surface and makes it shiny. I can't think of what the name of the rubber is now, but they're fantastic for stuff like this, because it roughs up the surface of the connection on the battery and makes the solder stick to it faster, which obviously, as I've just said, is what you want. So I'm just going to quickly stick some solder on the end of these. I'm really shaky, what's going on? Come on. At the minute I've got my soldering iron set to 480 degrees, which, as I said, is as hot as it'll go. Let's get some more solder. I don't know if you've got a decent soldering iron, or like a high wattage one. It's always good to have something like that, because they do a much better job at doing stuff like this, because of course a battery is going to dissipate a hell of a lot of heat in the case of the cell. So you need something that's going to get hot and provide a hell of a lot of heat. Oh dear, no, don't do that. Right. Just got the other side, don't want that on there. Now I'm just going to link them across and put a couple of bits of wire on the end, so they'll be in series, of course. AAA batteries are classed as 1.5 volts, so we'll get 4.5 volts out of these. Right, what I might do now, just to make my life easier, is put them all together like that, but then tape them up. Good old electrical tape. Why the hell not? I'll just tape these together. I know it's awful the way I'm doing this, I know. If you're willing to spend a bit more time on it than I am, then fantastic, but that battery's really hot. You know what's going on? Don't like that. And that one. It's never been my favourite thing to do, taping together batteries. Sorry, soldering batteries together. Straight on the ends of them. So, anyway, you get the idea. They're going to be put in series. Should give us a 4.5 volts. Obviously, PIC microcontrollers, they do have a rating of, you know, how many volts they can run at. You know, sort of minimum of this and a maximum of that, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. And to be fair, the forward voltage of a 5V LED isn't too far off that. Plus the microcontroller, this one, can only supply 50 milliamps. And since it's only flashing anyway, you know, it's not going to give too big of a problem. Because of course the duty cycle is so small. Right, come on. I normally save all these little ends that I cut off, but I haven't got that many at the minute, which is slightly frustrating. Got 2 left and that's them. Right, so we will connect that. Onto there. Onto there. Snip that off. So there's a negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So I need to put one across there and there. Excuse me. Ooh, can't find my soldering iron. To be honest, I think what I might do is put some ICSP connectors on this board, just so if I ever do want to reprogram it, it won't be too difficult to do. You just plug it straight into the computer then. Right, so you get positive and negative, because obviously it goes through like that. Right, so we'll get a couple of pieces of a couple of bits of wire. Just snip them. Put that back in your box. Obviously don't short these out when they're connected, because it will be shorting the batteries out otherwise. So just give it a bit of a tin. And then the positive. Sorry about the long video, I know it's very simple, whatever, but as I said, I don't do editing. Don't get me wrong, I can, but I just choose not to. I want you to see any mistakes and whatever that I make. So I think it'd be funnier. Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to strip that and tin it, just because I like tinned connections going into connectors, whatever. The same to the negative. Liberal amounts of solder, it's not expensive, is it? Snip them. And now, just obviously connect them up. Right, okay. Sorry about that, guys. I know I said I don't edit my videos and whatever, but first thing my camera decided it was gonna break the videos into 3 separate files, which is not handy, and I got the wires around the wrong way, connecting to the batteries, and it let out some smoke, and I burnt my finger on the chip. And to be honest, I'm absolutely shocked that it's working even now after that little performance. But hey ho, that's it. That's job done. I mean, it draws next to no power, and that's the whole idea. You know, I think the power drain on this, you know, on an average is around, well, I think it's like 1/10 of a milliamp, something like that. Basically, it will last for the life of the batteries, which is obviously what we want. So, yeah, there you go. Get building.